Meanwhile, latest fashion statement at the Republican National Convention include people donning fake ear bandages, a symbolic gesture of support for nominee Donald Trump by Arizona delegates. They say we are standing in solidarity with him for his wound and we just want him to know how much we love him. Trump has been appearing at the convention wearing a large bandage on his right ear where he was shot on Saturday at a rally in Pennsylvania. And Benji Haya joining us live from Washington now. Benji, today an interesting day as 111 days to Election Day, and amid a huge applause and crowd on their feet, J.D. Vance made a national debut with RNC speech and officially accepted the nomination to be the VP. What were the highlights?
He did. The new face, really, the millennial face of the MAGA movement, vowing to return Donald Trump to the White House, his first speech since being tapped as the former president's running mate, and he joins a growing list now of once Trump critics and rivals to unite behind the Republican Party nominee. This is an individual, J.D. Vance, who at one stage compared Donald Trump, his now boss, to Adolf Hitler. He now says that Mr. Trump is the man to deliver the hope, the aspirations, the prosperity that American voters are looking to get in 2024 and beyond. This was a speech with one main theme, really, and that is America first and the American dream. It was epitomized by the following sorts of phrases. We'll commit to the working man, J.D. Vance says. We'll fight for American citizens. We won't buy energy from countries that hate us, he says. We'll stamp every product with made in the USA. We'll build factories again. It was received by a rapturous crowd in which he presented this American First agenda. He railed against illegal immigration. He made a major pitch to blue-collar voters across this nation, saying that President Trump represents America's last best hope to restore what, if lost, may never be found again. He continued to say a country where a working-class boy born far from the halls of power can stand on this stage as the next vice president of the United States. A self-proclaimed hillbilly, J.D. Vance, coming from rural America, working class, building his way up to the stage on the Republican National Convention and really trying to send that pitch to the voters which could dictate the outcome of the 2024 election.
All right. Also, Benji, Junior Trump and Trump's granddaughter, Kai Trump, also spoke today calling for unity. Can you tell us what was the focus primarily on and who else spoke in the convention?
Well, this was a real family affair, interestingly, and I think that's always been the case when it comes to Donald Trump. His sons and their relatives have very much been on the scene. Melania Trump, his wife, did not speak, even though others did. There had been a mix, an eclectic mix, really, of those who had taken to the stage over the course of the day, this penultimate day of the Republican Party convention. Bereaved members of those who have lost their lives serving the country, for example, saying they stand with Donald Trump. But also, interestingly, perhaps not surprisingly, Peter Navarro, a former member of Donald Trump's cabinet, who literally until the early hours of this morning was serving time behind bars for refusing a subpoena to turn up and testify at a congressional committee looking into the January 6th, 2021 riot when a mob descended upon the heart of American democracy to overturn the 2020 election outcome, which Trump's critics say he incited. And I think the unifying message was backing a man, not necessarily an idea, but all falling behind Donald Trump, who is cutting a sort of messianic figure at the convention following his close brush with death over the weekend.
All right. Also, Benji, the Republican National Convention is occurring amid one of the most dramatic weeks in politics in history. Tell us about the theme of the convention today, Make America Strong Again.
it has been a dramatic week in politics. It's not even been a week since Joe Biden's frankly disastrous press conference at the NATO summit here in Washington, D.C., the shooting of Donald Trump on Saturday, the start of the Republican convention, Joe Biden facing more calls to step aside as a candidate, and in recent hours, now testing positive for COVID-19. It really has been a remarkable few days in the United States, which almost threatened to overshadow this convention, but it hasn't. The sort of defining themes and speakers have still shone through media coverage here. It has featured heavily on prime-time cable television across the United States. The theme today, to make America strong again. In other words, trying to make sure that it can stand on its own 2 feet, that it can still maintain its position on the global stage. But what is interesting is that does not necessarily mean interfering in global affairs. In fact, the policies espoused by someone like J.D. Vance are much more isolationist, a critic, for example, of giving more money to Ukraine. And so if there is another Trump presidency, there'll be many eyes watching from Europe, from the Indo-Pacific, about what this means in terms of America's relationship with its allies across the world.
All right, Benji, thank you so much for all that update from there.